another hitting fallacy that drives me nuts is the rear shoulder, and coaches yelling at kids, don't dip the rear shoulder. The rear shoulder has to work under the front shoulder. It has to. I mean, there's a major difference between dipping like this and dipping like this. Okay? But fastball at the knees is a strike. Okay? I wish if I had a hitting tee I could show you better, but we'll just imagine. Fastball at the knees is a strike. There is no way that I can hit a ball down here with my shoulders parallel to the ground. Okay? The rear shoulder has to work underneath. If I'm going to hit a pitch here, my rear shoulder has to get there. Okay? At least there. And that's a strike. Because now I can get the bat on plane where the ball is. And as the ball gradually moves up the strike zone, then my rear shoulder doesn't dip as much. If the ball's at my, top my strike zone of my letters, then maybe my shoulders are parallel to the ground. So when you're working off the tee, you want to make sure that you move the tee up and down with your kids, because the ball is not going to be in the same spot every time. And you really just, you don't have to talk about the rear shoulder because they'll get confused about it, but it's not wrong for the hitters to get here on a low pitch. They have to. Okay? They have to. And that's the only way that you can hit a line drive on a strike that's here. And I'm sure that in the younger the leagues are, I mean, umpires calling these strikes too. Even at the high school level, just below the kneecap sometimes is a strike. So, I mean, unless you want the hitters to beat the ball on the ground like this, because I've heard coaches saying don't dip your rear shoulder, and they get really confused because like, how do I hit that pitch? You're going to have to allow them to dip the rear shoulder a little bit and let them work underneath. And getting even more technical here just down the line, but as you work your rear shoulder underneath, notice, and you can do this at home, how easier it is to stay back on the baseball. If my shoulders are parallel to the ground, you're going to be more in a position to slide forward like this instead of staying back here. Now, if you have to drop the rear shoulder to get to a low pitch, you want to make sure the hands don't drop here. If I drop my rear shoulder, notice how my hands are still up. Okay, I mean, I got a hitter right now who likes to do this, and that's no good. Okay, so he's dipping the rear shoulder, that's correct, but he's also letting the right hand get underneath. So it's here through. Okay, I mean, if you watch these, the thing about hitting is no two swings should really be alike. It's not golf. I mean, the ball's just not sitting on the tee where the swing should be the same. The pitch is going to be in a different spot every time, which is going to change the swing every time. And I think that's where hitting instructors get in trouble, is they try to make these hitters into robots. And so they have, these hitters, they go to the batting cage, and they hit balls down the middle every time. And then they go to a hitting instructor, and they have them put balls on a tee, and they hit balls on a tee 30 times or 40 times or for a half hour at the same spot. And they do flips in the same spot. And they're great cage hitters, I call them. I call them cage hitters. They can hit in the cage, and they get in a game, and they can't do anything because they've never been taught that each swing is different. Same principles of balance and extension and follow-through and hip rotation, but the swing is always going to be different because the pitch is always going to be different. And if you really want to talk to your kids about no two swings are alike, pretty much ever, any questions about that? I think it's just an important point. I see it all the time. These kids now know more about hitting than I ever knew. And they're taking all these lessons, and they have great minds for hitting, but they can't play the game. They don't know how to play the game outside their little batting cage or their batting tunnel. So I think a lot of that's due to these instructors that really try to make these kids into machines and clone them, and they're not really teaching how to play the game.